music is to sit in a room with other talented writers and bounce ideas off each other. So we co-write, right? So now I work with 2, 3, sometimes 4 other guys when I'm writing a song. Yeah. So it's like we all unanimously agree that that's cool, instead of me just going, "Oh yeah, I think that's cool."
Right.
So I didn't have any good music going in, and then when I finally did win the contest, I had been working with these guys, writing with them, and we had some freaking fire tunes.
Right.
And so I was like, well, let's use this opportunity then to go in the studio and start like laying these down professionally.
Sure. So do you agree then that it's probably better to collaborate with people than to try to just like, if you see someone as a competition in any kind of work, right, or as a threat, maybe the two of you, instead of fucking bumping heads, should potentially try something together, see what happens.
Well, okay, I wasn't necessarily bumping heads with them.
Yeah, I don't mean it bumping heads, but I mean
the guys I was writing with are now in my band.
Right.
So we're
but our competition, team. I mean, like healthy competition. Like I'm thinking in terms of because obviously my past in making income was in real estate, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of realtors in London and in any industry that's really competitive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think now it's more important to find the people that are good, especially good-hearted, honest people.
Absolutely.
Bring them in and collaborate rather than just trying to bring it all in on yourself, and that's kind of
when you're working with colleagues in a field of occupation. There's ways that you can make it more difficult on each other, or there's ways that you can help each other out. And so, like, if I get guys that are looking for a gig or something, and I can put in a good word for them, like, of course I'm going to do that.
That's good.
I do co-writing with other people in different bands, too, like friends of mine, right?
Yep.
And people who I don't think would be, like, shady about ripping off material or something like that. Because that does happen.
Yep, yeah. Well, you're still going to have some shady fucks out there, right?
Yeah, but I got a good shady radar. A shadar, if you will.
Sure. Fair enough, man.
So I don't associate with shady people. I only put myself around good people. And
good for you. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we're writing that stuff. We got 5 songs in the works right now. All we have to do is lay down backup vocals for these 5 songs at EMAC, and then mixing begins, and then we can start doing our launch.
Awesome. So when you do this launch, like, is there, I mean, I know that some of the guys, I'm not going to mention names, but some of the guys have played in some pretty big festivals too, right, that you're working with.
Yeah, we got some pretty heavy hitters.
Some pretty heavy hitters, right? Yeah. So, I mean, and eventually I'll reach out to them. Just don't feel like I'm not reaching out. It's just that Zach and I have shared like pretty much a hotel room together. So I kind of feel like I have to have him on first, right? Like,
no, man. I mean, I'm sure down the road, like, you're my boy. I'll come do this whenever. Like,
absolutely.
I don't care if I'm like Keith fucking Urban out here. I'll still come sit up in your
awesome, and I love that, man. And I know your boys are the same way, and we love to have everyone on that's kind of doing something. Like what this show is really about is proving that people get beat up along the way, like you have.
Yeah, man.
I have. I think a lot of people that I've had on the show have gotten their ass kicked, but they still get up and they still pursue what they love. They don't fucking lay down.
Yeah.
And they keep going. And this is what this is about, is just sharing your fucking story.
I think the most important lesson that you can learn in life, and I was sharing this with one of the kids I work with today, who's very young but very brilliant minded. He's 7 years old.
So you can talk about the work that you do. That's amazing, man.
Okay,
it's super
we had a conversation today, and I was just like, I forget what the context he was talking about was. Sometimes he was scared to answer a question in class because he didn't want to be wrong.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? Don't ever be afraid of being wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to learn to then be right.
Yep.
Like, don't ever be afraid of failure, because you'll never really know what success actually feels like until you've failed.
Yeah.
And you've worked for that success.
Yeah.
So that was like, I think that's one of the most valuable lessons that you can learn in life. And I was trying to convey that to him at 7 years old, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do, to answer your other question, I work with some autistic kids as a side hustle.
Yep.
Because, it's, for me, it's rewarding. I just like to be around their youthful energy. I did work with some more problematic kids earlier on in my career, which I had to like stop doing because I needed more time for music, and honestly, it was stressful to me.
Yeah, no, I understand
and
that.
I just had to eliminate that stress.
Yeah.
It hurt me to do it, but I had to.
Yeah.
So now the kids I work with are freaking amazing. Like, they're so easy to get along with. They're hilarious. I go bowling on Thursdays with one, and
That's awesome.
On Mondays, I go hang out and play like video games and watch old VHS tapes of fucking Cinderella. Today we were watching Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Amazing.
Learning about balance and what was the other thing? Anyways, fuck.
obviously you learned a lot from the video.
Yeah. No, he was into it, man. We were like leaning up against the wall trying to pick up chairs. We're like, oh, your center of gravity, if you're leaning against the wall, it doesn't work. And we were like sitting up there trying, and I was like, wow, this really doesn't work.
You're setting up science experiments.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
He was initiating all of it. I would have just sat there and watched it.
Yeah. So let's talk about our trip in Europe, man.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's go back in time because we had some fucking funny experiences on that trip.
Holy man, too many to count.
Yeah, and the thing is that we're using an app called BidChat here. This was when I first started the Sunday Night Sex Show, and you were actually one of the first guys on it. You and Carson will give a shout out to Big City.
Yo, Big City, what's good, Playboy?
So you guys were actually the first couple guys that we were testing it out at that point in time. Yeah. So I tested it out in a hotel room in Europe, and we got 3,
Mom, change the channel.
Yeah, we got 3 women to come in the room, right?
Yeah.
They were from.
They were working at the bar down the road. The Lord Nelson.
The Lord Nelson. Where the fuck were we anyway?
We were in Earl Shilton.
Earl Shilton. Okay, you got a better memory for this stuff than I do.
I try to remember that stuff.
Yeah. So we were there. So at the time, Zach, you had a crush on one of the bartenders a little bit, did you not?
I guess, yeah. I mean, it was a little foreign, like romance or whatever.
It was, and that was all it was, really.
Yeah, that's really all it was. Like, I think all we did was make out.
Yeah, I remember how much legwork you put in because you would always get a kick out of that, right?
Bro, busting my balls over here.
But he knows what consent is, ladies and gentlemen. He did not get it.
No, as a gentleman, for the record, and maybe Anna can tell you about that.
Yeah, and we had Anna, and what? Do you remember her friend's names?
I think one of them was Carly. I want to say
Carly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we won't do that. But anyway, we had a few of the women in, and we were talking to them about the differences between Americans and Canadians and how they approach sex compared to the men that were over in the UK.
Where are we talking about British girls?
We're talking about
British versus Canadian because like they don't really know Americans too well in Earl Shilton, right?
Yeah,
like,
I think we were more just talking about Canadian, but whatever. I mean, they kind of think of us as being the same thing.
We were asking them about what sex is like in Britain.
Yeah, and they had said basically that we were more gentlemanlike in that the guys over there tended to be more aggressive.
Yeah, they're dicks.
Yeah, which is why I felt it was really important to go to those universities and colleges and get that consent message across.
Oh, absolutely.
But we had some pretty good times, and I remember spending a day in Camden Town.
God.
Yeah. And maybe we can give everyone a treat tonight because it was Tony Lee, the X-ray hypnotist, great guy who took Zach and I under his wing to do this university and college tour over in the UK. And Zach decided, I don't know if you were still drunk or hungover or what.
I was drunk the whole time.
Yeah, he was. The whole thing was a blur. But I remember watching him pull his pants down. And what did you get done that day?
Well, first of all, let's go back and start at the beginning of the story because it wasn't always the idea that I had to get what actually happened.
You sure?
So I was like, okay, I want to get a tattoo. Like, I like getting tattoos. I want to get a tattoo of something to commemorate this tour overseas, my first time over in the UK.
Yeah.
And so, well, firstly, I thought maybe a guitar on my calf with like a Union Jack on it would be cool. Something like
I remember hearing you brainstorm for a while in the car.
Discreet, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was kind of boring. I was like, maybe we can do something better. Let me think. Let me just dwell on it. And then Tony came up with the idea, and he was like, well, I'll pay for your tattoo because they were freaking expensive over there. I think he ended up paying like £240, which was...
Yeah, a lot Canadian.
Roughly equates to like 400 something Canadian.
It's so worth it.
For an hour tattoo, which is outrageous. But anyway, so he's like, "Oh, get a picture of my face on your ass and I'll pay for it." I'm
right.
Like, and I must have been coming down off a 7-day bender at this point.
Yeah,
like, sure.
I'll vouch for that. I don't know.
Sure, I'll fucking do that. Whatever. Yeah. I didn't want to pay for it. I was running out of pocket money, if I'm being totally honest. Anyways.
Sure.
So, sure, fuck yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, but I want it to be like funny. I don't want it to just be a portrait of your face. So I'm like, let's think. Yeah, Steve-O had that really cool tattoo of him on his back, like with the thumbs up. It's hilarious. So
yeah.
I was like, let's get that.
Yeah.
But your face. And so that's what we did.
Let's give everyone a better visual of that. Just go and show that. Just do a little spin and drop one cheek for us if you don't mind. All right, Zach is now getting up to drop his pants. All right, let's see. You can get in front of that one there. Let's see if you can see. Let's see. There we go. Can you now do a little turn to that one too? The one up there. We go. Perfect. So there's a little publicity for the man Tony Lee, the X-rated hypnotist, and he did a fucking good job. If we're being totally honest, man, it turned out immaculate.
I went and looked on the guy's Instagram, and he had like 30,000 followers.
Yeah, he was a big deal. That tattoo artist. Remember, he didn't want like pictures and like.
He didn't even tell us his real name at first. He said his name was like.
He was like the
Kayed or something, and his name was actually Nick, and like everybody was calling him Nick in the shop. But, like he told us his name was different.
Yeah,
so he was weird.
It was weird. It was an interesting little spot.
Well, he just thought we were Canadian tourist assholes coming in with that wanted an ass tattoo. And he's like, fuck, well, look at these drunk idiots. Yeah, I can get it, right?
Tattoo artists must see a lot of shit, man. Yeah, for sure,
guaranteed.
So let's get into that. Was fucking amazing. I love the tattoo, by the way. And Tony makes you fucking every time that you go to his show, he makes you drop. So Zach's constantly dropping his pants in front of hundreds of people, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, once I got it in UK, every show after that.
Yeah, for sure. And every show to continue. Yeah. If Tony's going and for another 20 years, you're going to be the guy that's fucking old and gray whipping his ass out in front of a bunch of kids.
In a walker, like,
exactly.
Like his face will be all saggy on my butt.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into some stuff that your mom's name's Pat, right?
Yeah.
All right, Pat. Here's your PG. We're going into X-rated. So just so you have the heads up. So relationships. We talked about one of the shitty relationships. I mean, it obviously, I'm sure there was great times to that, but it ended up not so great for you. Let's talk about your relationship since it's called Sex and Suicide.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the sex.
All right. Well,
let's see what's been happening. I mean, obviously now you're sort of.
Yeah, I've been hanging.
Tell me
out,
where you are
I've
now.
Been hanging out with a really nice girl lately, and
okay.
I just want. I'm sure if she's watching, I don't think I'm like a sleazebag or anything. I enjoy our time together a lot, and I'm not gonna like go into like stories that make me look like bad.
I don't want you to go into stories. Let's talk about your most. Okay, let's go into some stories where maybe you were in there and you're like, holy fuck, I can't believe this is happening. Your greatest sexual fantasies played out. Anything like that? Or has it just been pretty vanilla sex? I mean, you're a musician. Man. You've got to have some rock star stories.
Like, I've had a couple threesomes and stuff.
Okay.
But, I mean, again, I don't really want to get into details about them. Like, okay, let's just put it this way.
Okay.
As a performer, as somebody who plays on stage at pubs where people are drinking, and I don't want to say like I'm a good looking guy or anything that's like cocky, but I mean,
sure.
I've been told I guess I'm kind of handsome. So
I like how you put that so humbly.
Combine that with like the music and everything like that, like
the voice. I think it's the voice.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I've gotten attention from girls, right?
Yeah, sure. And you're a pretty friendly guy.
And for a time, I was like kind of enjoying it. Like the bachelor life was cool. It was fun. But then I think everybody on some instinctual level needs like real companionship.
Sure. So you kind of saw it for what it was at times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd be like, there's times where you're like, you're not out and about drunk after parties with girls and they're like all over you or whatever. There's the next day when you're sober and you're vulnerable and now you're a different person kind of, and you just want somebody who like appreciates you for you, not your looks or your abilities.
Sure. So did you run into a lot of superficial?
A ton.
Yeah.
So many. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were just kind of like sort of a big wig in London here. From the, I don't want to. I know. Listen,
like that.
I know you don't. I know you don't. But I mean, people know you. They know you're a talented musician. They know that you're going places. So women from London kind of tried to latch on, but you found it was just like for the night. Even at the next day, they didn't even want to latch on. It was.
Yeah. There was times where I'd like, I'd kind of take an interest to a girl that I met at a bar, and then like I'd get ghosted. Like not even a reply the next day.
You got ghosted.
Yeah, I got ghosted several times. I got even like I had a girl hitting on me at the bar at McCabe's actually, up on stage, like, trying to kiss me while I was playing. I was like, whoa, no, like,
Yeah.
chill. And then, so I went and talked to her after, and she gave me her number, and her boyfriend was there.